Ooh, clam jumpers! You almost got yourself shot, boy! Alright, well, since you're here, why don't you come on in? I'll tell you a story. We get a lot of questions out there from a lot of viewers who want to know how things worked in the Old West. So we figured we'd answer those questions in a new segment we call Frontier Western Classics. Ooh, what do you think about that, boy? Why don't you leave me a comment down below and tell me what you think about that, huh? I'm talking you, boy! So I figured while Slim's in the outhouse, we're sitting here and have a little story time. Maybe I'll make you up some beans and eggs. What do you think about that? Cowboy style! Yeah! Alright, so enough jaw jacking. So you know what I'm gonna say, huh? Oh, you better. So come on. Let's go! Ooh, fire's hot. Alright, let's get that fire going, shall we? Some wood chopped up here. I know, don't use a broad axe to cut wood. How many times have I heard that? Fine to get that going. Alright. That way it's not so sooty. Alright. Let me pull up a chair here. That's in case Slim comes back unannounced. So for our first story in this series, I figured what's more fitting about the Old West than dynamite. Woo, everybody likes dynamite. So that's what we're going to talk about today, is how dynamite got it started in the Old West, and of course how it revolutionized everything into the industrial age. We're going to go over a couple things. Now I know there's a lot of stuff that I'm going to leave out, but I don't want to bore you to tears. You got that? Alright, first things first. Now before they invented dynamite, they were using what? Come on now, use that old noodle of yours. They were using black powder. Now black powder doesn't have a lot of energy, it burns really slow. Now, black powder was used a lot all the way up till about the 1840s. And that, of course, is when nitroglycerin was invented, 1847. And it was very effective, and it was a high explosive, but it was very unpredictable, if you know what I mean. Let's see if there's a... Yeah. Getting those beans ready. Look at that. So, what did they do? Well, they used nitroglycerin sporadically because it was very dangerous. It was very unstable. It would explode if it received too much of a shock. So they didn't really like using it too much, and a lot of the factories were blowing up when they were making it. Well, onto the scene comes a man by the name of Alfred Nobel, what the Peace Prize is named after. And when he saw nitroglycerin, he got an idea, and he says, you know what? I see a lot of potential for this, and I'm going to see what I can do to make it more safe and more stable. So that's what he did. He went to work, making it more safe and more stable. Now, the first thing he did was he invented the blasting cap. Of course, it's not like the blasting caps you see today, but it was very effective at setting off nitroglycerin. Of course, the blasting caps he invented were just basically black powder charges, just enough to give a thump to that nitroglycerin to get it to go. Well, he said, you know, if I can stabilize nitroglycerin, I can turn it into something effective and useful. So that's what he did. He started messing around with nitroglycerin and different other types of elements to stabilize it. Well, eventually he came up with a type of clay, earth clay material that he mixed the nitro with that seemed to keep it from self-detonating on the slightest impact. And it was really effective. But the problem was, the black powder wasn't strong enough to set it off. So he had to come up with another design. And that's when the blasting cap was invented. And the caps basically sit in a copper shell, copper tube, and they're filled about 3/4 of the way up with mercury fulminate, usually 80% mercury fulminate and 20% potassium chlorate. And that's what you see in the old mines when you start finding these number 6s and number 8s. down in the mines, and it delivers quite a punch too. Now the drawback to using dynamite is that after it explodes, it leaves fumes in the drifts and the stopes. And of course, nitroglycerin will give you a nasty headache. Now dynamite's strength is usually rated by how much nitroglycerin is inside of it. Most sticks contain anywhere from 30 to 60% nitroglycerin. The most common is 30 to 45. And you'll see that marked on all the boxes. Now when Alfred Nobel invented dynamite back in 1867, he basically made them all the same shape, about 8 inches long and about 1.25 inches in diameter. There's about a half a pound of explosive right here. That way that it would fit in the holes nicely and you wouldn't have to worry about drilling a hole that's too big, and everything would be uniform. He got the idea to call it dynamite from the Greek word dynamis, which means power. And he figured that'd be suiting, so he called it dynamite. And the name just kind of stuck. Man, these are good beans. You want some? Belly up to the bar, boy. The first company in the United States to manufacture dynamite using Alfred Nobel's formula was a company called Giant. I'm sure you've seen Giant powder boxes down in the mines. They're everywhere, at least they used to be. They did so for a number of years until they were bought out by DuPont. And DuPont basically held a monopoly over the explosives game for a long time, until they were broken up in 1912. Well, when they were broken up in 1912, 2 companies came out of that as a result. One was Hercules and one was Atlas. And of course you probably see those boxes down there all the time. They look something like this, boy. That's an Atlas box. And see that? Atlas Extra, 30% strength. Of course the other company is Hercules. You don't really see these down in the mines too much, but this is a box that held over 5,000 blasting caps. You imagine that? Don't drop that on your toe. Woo-hoo, be the last thing you ever do. Eggs are almost ready if you want some. Eggs, beans. Losing my mind. I don't know what the heck Slim's doing out there. Now, to initiate dynamite, like I said, you got to use blasting cap. Now, in the early days, they would use what's called safety fuse. They usually came on a metal spool, and they had anywhere from 100 to 500 feet of it. Generally speaking, safety fuse in the Old West would burn about 1 foot every 30 seconds. And I've seen some fuse burn 1 foot every 46 seconds. Depends on the manufacturer. Now, the reason why it was so important to know how fast this stuff burns is because when you're shooting around, each one of your holes is charged. You want it to go off at a specific time. You don't want them all to go off at the same exact time. And there's a reason for that, and I talked about that later. I'm not going into that right now. But it was very important for the powder monkey, the guy who's in charge of the explosives, to know the fuse length and the burn time. And he better get it right too. Because if he's off, you could get a bootleg round out of that. Or the rock won't fracture properly. Whole host of problems. So it'd be in sequence. Pop, 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 pop. You don't want it to all go at once. Now to light these guys, what you'd do is you'd split the end, and then you could light it with one of these, or you could put a match head in there, strike another match, and it would go off in there. Here, I'll show you what I'm talking about. See that? And they're waterproof too. It'll actually burn inside. You won't see it, and you're thinking, oh, it's out, but it's literally burning inside. It's waterproof. Now, the way you would attach the number 6 or number 8 cap to the safety fuse is use a crimping tool that looks like this. Looks like that, sonny boy. You see that? And then on the end, you can stab the dynamite so that you have a hole to put your blasting cap in. And then this is a little screwdriver on the end so you can open the box up when you get to a box of dynamite. It's a really handy tool. You can poke a hole in the end, or you can poke a hole on the side. I like poking a hole on the side. Feed the cap in on the side, and then I'll use a wooden pole to push it all the way back into the hole, and the fuse will actually trail around the edge, and I can put more sticks in behind it. And you always charge your first one, and then you put the rest of the sticks, usually 3 to 5 sticks in a hole. And then you never ever tamp that first stick unless you want a headache that'll never go away. Then when you're done doing that, you're gonna stem the hole. Basically, you're just gonna put dirt or clay in there. So they came up with one of these. It's called electric blasting cap. Basically, it's a number 6 or a number 8 with a squib in it. And it was much more effective and much more efficient. They could actually time the shots a lot better with something like this. The only problem with something like this is you need electrical charge to enter this wire, so it'll set off this squib and set off the cap. So they had to come up with something to do that. And that's when somebody invented the 50 cap blasting machine. Believe it or not, it still works. I'm going to give you a demonstration. It has an electric generator inside, your charging handle that has the rack here with the teeth on it. You push down, it charges it. When it reaches the bottom, there's 2 contact points. They connect. They send all that current in one single burst up to these 2 points. And I'm going to give you a demonstration on what that looks like. So this would be your lead coming off your blasting cap right here. Pull up on the charging handle, push down, and voila. All right, now, I got one more thing to talk about and then we'll get on out of here because I don't want to bore you to tears. All this is fine and dandy, but it ain't going to be anything if you don't have a hole drilled to put your dynamite in. That's what we're going to talk about next. To get your holes back in the old days, they would use this, drilling steel. These are original from 1885. These are called starter bits. And obviously you know why they're called a starter bit, because this is what you start your hole on. Go to your working face, put it up there, hit, turn it a 1/4 inch, hit, turn it a 1/4 inch, hit, turn it a 1/4 inch. The reason why you're spinning that thing is so it doesn't get stuck in the hole. Create a nice round hole for your dynamite. In those days, that would be called single jacking or single jack drilling. Now if you had 2 guys, it was called double jacking or double jack drilling. And I've even seen where they had 3 guys, 2 guys swinging and 1 guy holding the bit. And you better hope they don't miss because you'll be a cripple for life. People were getting tired of single and double jacking. It was too much work. So what'd they do? They came up with pneumatic drills, the column drills. Those things weighed over 100 pounds. You imagine lugging all that around, put the column up, put the drill on it, hook all the air lines up, and drill your holes. But it was a heck of a lot easier and faster than doing this. But the problem with those was they kicked up a lot of dust, created silicosis or rocks in the box. A lot of miners died that way until they came up with what was called a water flush system, where the drill steel was hollow on the inside and they would run water through the center of it. It'd come out the end of the bit. It would keep the bit cool, extend the life of the bit. It would flush all the drillings out of the hole. And of course it would keep the dust down so the miners wouldn't die in a couple years. So it was a huge improvement. And then after that they came out with what's called a knockoff bit, where you basically, instead of taking the whole drill steel up to the surface to be resharpened, they just knock that end off and screw a new one on. You're good to go. It's got a hole in the end and you're good to go. So basically that's it in a nutshell right there. I hope you enjoyed our new episode here called Frontier Western Classics. Now if you enjoyed it, you better smash that like button, boy. Smash it hard! Ooh, and leave me and Slim a comment. Speaking of which, you better get out of that outhouse. Sam, use the red corn cob, not the white one. Burn my beans, I gotta make up some more. Maybe some cowboy style. So until next time, this is Jeff Williams and an absentee Slim. Say, you like our new episodes? Well, we do too. Leave us a comment and a thumbs up, because you know what to do. Take care, everybody.